Okay.
We are
It's
voices live in the main show.
I'm confused. It's not 5 o'clock. Why are we going live now?
Just so we can communicate a little bit before we bring our video up.
Okay, so you've made it video of NosillaCast live with the clock and us talking.
Well, we could bring our video up then. Let's do that.
Well, it's too early. It's 4:59.
We've got 16 seconds. I can't wait. All right, I can't stand it. We're going live. All right.
Hello.
Hello. Now
I was doing a test recording. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the Nose. Hello, everybody.
Hello, Podfeet.
Wait. It was on my head.
Yeah, I had to move it. It's quite a bit of different setup. Where are you today, Podfeet? It looks quite different.
But I would like to note that Steve went out of his way to hang the real clock so that he could cover it up with the imaginary clock.
Well, I need to know where to position it.
So now we can take down the real clock? What exactly is going on there? That's good.
It's meta.
All right. Let's see. We do roll call before we talk about rooms. Oh, thanks, Rick. This is a special shirt. I'll show you guys in just a second. We have Steve and the wingman, Kevin, and we got Will and Chris. Is that right? And Dan at Hang. I'm not sure who that is, but welcome aboard. And we've got Ian and Adam might be here. John is orange. I'm not sure if he's really here. Rick, Stephen Getz looks like he's not here. I think he was in from when we were ordering the Apple Watch in the middle of the night. We got TitanBot in there by itself and TJ bringing up the bottom of the lineup tonight. All right. The Oh Dear Profession. Hang on. So wait, I got to explain where I am first. So we've been forced to move out of our room. Actually, Steve, you should post your picture of what our bedroom looks like right now.
Let me go find that.
That would be good. So I am now in Kyle's room as my studio. Actually, we have a picture of what my studio looks like too, Steve.
What do you want first?
How about my studio? In order to grind the sausage, I will have to grind it by hand. I can't have it mounted. This is going to be a long couple of months. So, we're trying to figure out how we can set things up. The problem is I've got a window behind me. Wait, no, that's my real studio, Steve. Oh, that's this studio. Yeah, that's where I am right now.
What did you want?
There's also a picture of what my studio looks like under wraps, as it were.
Oh, I don't know if I have that one.
It's in the shared folder, I think.
Okay.
I think. But anyway... we've moved out of our bedroom. I've moved into here. We've moved into Lindsay's bedroom. This was Kyle's old bedroom. And my video froze.
It's back for me now.
Okay. And our bathroom is going to get destroyed coming Tuesday. So it's very exciting around here. That's our bedroom.
You might recognize the fireplace mantle where the meat grinder used to live.
Yeah, I think the meat grinder was still there when we took that photo. But we live in Dexter House now, so that's nice. And a temporary sausage. Yeah, just a light, like a little plastic one. One that doesn't weigh 150 pounds would be nice. But my shirt. Okay. Can you read what it says? Oh, get that out of the way. This way? No, that way.
The other way.
The other way.
There you go. Code like a girl, and it says below that, I can't quite make that out.
I don't know what it says.
Come closer.
Tech stuff. Hashtag tech stuff. But that's a picture of Ada Lovelace.
Yes.
Very excited about my new shirt.
I should have put you on full frame.
Do I need to pose again, Steve?
Yes. Let's blow that baby up.
All right.
There we go. Now we can read it. Nice. Okay, you can sit.
Very good. Okay, enough belly shots. Okay, we got pictures of our bedroom. We got belly shot. We got everything else covered. Oh, you didn't show me what my studio looks like right now, but that's okay. It looks a lot like
photo.
It's not in the shared photos?
I'm not even sure I know which one you're talking about there.
Oh, I took a picture of the of it encased in plastic. So that was fun. All right. I need to do a test recording here. Actually, let me go ahead and read the intro. I don't have a place for things now. I don't have all my monitors. Preview. There we go. I'm going to do just the little intro. 1 second. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com, a technology geek podcast with an ever so slight Apple bias. Today is Sunday, September 16th, 2018, and this is show number 697. Okay, now I unmute, and how does that sound? Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast. That's too loud. I think that's also too late. Podcast, hosted at podfeet.com, a technology geek podcast with an ever so slight Apple bias. Today is Sunday, September 16th, 2018, and this is show number 697. Just a smidge early. I like that to nail it. September 16th, 2018, and this is show number 697. There we go. So where does that actually start? Because if I could just memorize where to start, then I would not have to worry about this. You'd think by now, yeah, it's right about 1 second. 1 second in. All right. Need to mute that. Don't let me forget to unmute that at the very beginning. That's going to be the problem. All right.
I do have one little issue. Your screen apparently is not your screen.
Oh, I didn't do the sharing yet, did I?
Yeah.
Hang on a second. Yep. Save. I forgot to do that. What the heck is that noise? Somebody dragging trash cans around outside?
I don't hear it.
All right. That's probably better.
Yes. We're good.
Are you happy?
Okay. I'm muting.
What is it I need over there? Discord. There we go. All right. Well, I'm coming to you live, well, not live, recorded from my new recording studio over in Kyle's bedroom. I may have mentioned a couple hundred times, we are abolishing our bathrooms, all of them, and they have finished the downstairs bathroom and the upstairs kids' bathroom and our, they've done our laundry room and our whole entryway, and now they're going to attack our master bedroom. So we've been banished from our master bedroom. It's all encased in plastic. Looks kind of like a set of Dexter, and so I had to move my studio out of our bedroom over into Kyle's room. So that's where we're coming from tonight. You know what? I think I talked about that in one of the things.
In the previous show?
No, I think I think it's in the fan thing. Let me see.
Want me to go check that?
Studio. Where else would I have talked about it there? Yeah. Okay. Now I think I'm okay. I think I never changed it to say I'm actually in the new room, so I'll just change that. Let me check. I want to check this. Oh, I'm going to unmute that intro. Check this breakpoint. 7. Well, I'm coming to you live. Well, not live. Recorded. Oh, look at me. I'm so funny. All right. Oh, Steve's face disappeared again. Never will figure out what's going on with that. Very strange. Okay. Bink. Come on. There's a clock ticking. Oh, that's the clock. I can hear the clock now, Steve. That's weird. All right, here we go. This week's Chit Chat Across the Pond was a really fun installment of Programming by Stealth with Bart Bouchatz. We learned how to make web forms with Bootstrap. I know, that sounds really exciting, doesn't it? No, but seriously, with Bootstrap, you can make these beautiful and functional forms for people to fill out on the web using text boxes and drop downs and checkboxes and radio buttons, and Bootstrap does all the prettifying of everything. The other cool thing is that Bootstrap makes you add the accessibility features along the way. It's not like one of these, oh, it'd be really nice to help the poor blind people. It's, hey, this is what we do now, so get with the program. I mean, it insists you can't get around it. You have to put the good stuff in. Anyway, Bart and I had a lot of fun, and I think you'll enjoy it too. Check it out in your podcatcher of choice, either under Chit Chat Across the Pond number 563 or Programming by Stealth 62 of X, whichever feed is your pleasure. And of course, you can always listen over at podfeet.com, where you can also find a link to Bart's written tutorial all about the episode. Right. Okay. iThoughts Foundation. I guess I could, I could do little chapter markers. Do little chapter marks here. But they won't be anything terribly interesting. They'll just be, I don't know. By Stealth 63 of X. Oh, that means I got to go find the URL though, didn't it? Preview. No, I can do it. I got it. I guess I can do it that way. Copy link. PBS 63 of X. That's good. Okay. And I think I'll do another one now where I'm going to talk about iThoughts. Come on. Copy. Is he demanding it?
What?
Is he demanding it? Anybody demanding chapter marks, or am I just doing this out of the goodness of my heart?
Well, I would say Kevin is.
And he says he just does it for you. So who are we doing this for? That one guy that wanted him, right? But everybody said they like him. Okay. It is weird hearing a clock, Steve. Why couldn't I hear it in the other room? Oh, we had socks around it. Remember? Steve hates the sound of a ticking clock, and so I put socks all around the mechanism.
Not many clocks wear socks.
They had iPod socks. We could have used those. All right. Okay, muting Steve. I took on the challenge of creating a tutorial for my favorite mind mapping app, iThoughts from Toketaware for Mac, Windows, and iOS. Creating a screencast tutorial is the absolutely best way to learn to use a tool, and this one was no exception. I was really surprised because I've been using it for over 5 years, and I had no idea of the depth of capability of iThoughts. I thought I knew everything, but it turns out there was so much more to it than I realized. If you're not a member of Screencast Online yet, you can watch the full tutorial with a free trial because it's a subscription service. You also get full access to the back catalog of videos during the trial period. Now, I got to warn you, I wouldn't do the trial period if I were you because you're going to want to become a member if you do that. You go watch a bunch of the older videos and you're going to just fall in love with it. Anyway, it's a great video, if I do say so myself. I'm quite chuffed about it, if you will, because it's such a fabulous tool. And one of the most surprising things was that I did not find a single bug. It's an hour and 1 minute long video, and I didn't find any bugs. I thought I found one, and I wrote to the developer, who's very responsive, and his name's Craig, and he said, nope, that's as designed. So I highly recommend going out, checking the link in the show notes to the iThoughts Foundation video on Screencasts Online. All right, where are we? Close that one. Go here. Okay. Enough bragging about stuff. What? Am I missing stuff?
Enough bragging about stuff.
Well, AFPU beta.
You got a chapter marker in there?
I am doing it right now.
Good.
But I haven't saved in a while.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Kevin's in top form tonight. Multiple saves, multiple chapter markers.
Did you tell him Rick did a good job of yelling
Yes,
save
he did
last week?
Quite well. An apprentice wingman.
I suspect there was some excessive use of text expander there. It was quite well done. I think to be a wingman, you really have to use text expander.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
Muting Steve. As you're well aware, I'm a fan of the Affinity products from a company called Serif. They first came out with Affinity Photo as a challenger to Adobe's Photoshop. Later, they developed Affinity Designer as a challenge to Adobe Illustrator to compete in the vector design arena. They're at it again, this time with a beta for a product called Affinity Publisher, and that'll be a competitor to Adobe InDesign. Like their other products, Affinity Publisher Beta is available for both Mac and Windows at affinity.serif.com. Now, you know I'm no artist, and I'm only a passable photographer if you squint and round up. And yet I've been able to do some pretty cool stuff with Affinity Photo and Affinity Designer. I'd never even used a vector design program before Affinity Designer. I have spent $50 on each app and $20 each on their iPad versions, so I'm out $120 now, which is about 1 year of Photoshop plus Lightroom. I know that's not the same thing, but just to kind of frame it, this stuff is really inexpensive. Affinity Publisher, as I mentioned, is only out in beta, and I'm going to repeat that a lot of times here. But the fun thing about it being out in beta is it means you can play with it for free like I am. You can download it from affinity.serif.com, and of course there's a direct link to it in the show notes. Affinity Publisher Beta is a layout program that you would use to lay out magazines and brochures and online advertising type of things. You know those cool layouts they have on the Better Car websites where the text smoothly swoops around the shape of the car and it's got neato reflections and such? Well, Affinity Publisher is the kind of app you use to make those neato layouts. Now, I'm going to put a disclaimer in here. On top of not being an artist, I have a second disclaimer. This is not a review of Affinity Publisher for two reasons. First of all, it's in beta, so that would not be fair at all. And number two, I've never used a layout program like this before in my life, so I am not qualified to do a review of Affinity Publisher, even the beta, but not when it's released either. I'm just trying to give you enough information to maybe give the beta a try yourself if you think it sounds fun or useful to you. Now, I haven't exactly been planning my next car ad, but I do have a problem to be solved. Some of you know about this, but every year when we go on vacation, I write a daily travelogue to my family and friends. I like to think that it's entertaining. It is definitely silly, and people even ask me to get on distribution for this email. There are actually 100 people on distribution right now, and every year I give them the option to get off. So far, 2 people have asked to get off. No, total 3 people. Anyway, these letters are a bit of text with a lot of photos that help tell the story. One year, Wally Cherwinski suggested I make each one into an iBook so I'd have them for posterity, not saved in a bunch of dumb emails. I've been trying to get around to doing this for years now. Well, back in March of this year, I told you about the trials and tribulations I encountered attempting to use iBook's author to create an iBook for my travelogue emails. It was an utter failure. In the same story, I told you how it was even harder to use the recently announced book features in Apple's Pages. Now, my goal is to have my story laid out with the photos placed artfully within the text, much like my blog posts look. It did not seem that much to ask. When Affinity Publisher went into beta, just for grins and giggles, I decided I should see if it would allow me to create the book the way I wanted it. I have to say that after a few days of messing around with it with no knowledge at all about how layout programs are supposed to work, I've already got my travelogue looking better than in iBook's author or in Pages. Now, fundamentally, Apple's applications are designed to do the layout for you, and you're not supposed to worry your pretty little head about its decisions. I found its layout decisions unpredictable at best and baffling at worst. Now, you can override the layouts iBook's author chooses, but I found that even more problematic. I got into a bigger mess when I tried to override it. Affinity Publisher operates in the exact opposite way. You have complete control at all times about how your document is laid out. It may be too much freedom, if anything. With great freedom becomes great responsibility, right? Well, let's talk about the Affinity Publisher interface. It's very comfortable if you're familiar at all with Affinity Photo or Affinity Designer. The right side is full of tabs like layers and colors and styles, which they call studios, while the left sidebar is a column of small icons for the different tools. Some of the tools are familiar, like there's a pen tool for drawing vectors and a pencil for drawing lines and some geometric objects. Across the top, you've got what Serif calls the context toolbar. In all of their apps, basically it means that the options up above change depending on what you're doing. If you have a text box selected, the context toolbar will show you the font and character and paragraph options available, but if you select an image, it will change to things like fill and stroke and corner radius options. In the middle is a giant area where you lay out your pages. Now, I watched a couple of the Affinity Publisher beta video tutorials. Actually, by the time I was done writing this, I actually watched them all, and it was enough to get me started, and I learned that you start by deciding whether you want a single page layout or 2 facing pages. For the latter, think of like a 2-page magazine spread with images that flow across the staple area. I started experimenting with my Paris travelogue from earlier this year, and it felt really restrictive to work in a single 8.5 by 11-inch page, so I switched over to facing pages, and now I'm coloring way outside the lines, and it's fantastic fun. In my case, I have these snippets of text, not too much, or people get bored. I really don't write very much, but I have lots of images. In Affinity Publisher, I learned to drop in a picture frame first before I plop in an image. Picture frames are cool. You paste your images into them. You have to right-click and say paste into or do a file search for them. It's a little bit clumsy. I'd like to be able to just Command-V right into them. But anyway, once you get your picture into a picture frame, as you drag the corners, the image is intelligently resized. The image isn't distorted as you change the picture frame's dimensions. Rather, it's cropped real-time as you stretch and shrink the frame. Now, I tested picture frames with an image of a walk, don't walk person sign that I thought was funny at the time. You see, the French walk, don't walk people are skinnier than the ones in the US. I thought that was funny. I told you these letters are hilarious. Anyway, in my original email, it was this huge image taking up the full width of the letter, which was attention way beyond what it actually deserved. With the image as a picture frame in Affinity Publisher Beta, I could essentially live crop it to fit nicely on the page with other images. Now, my favorite thing about putting in the images is that the context toolbar gets a text wrap option that lets me force text to wrap around an image. You can change the margin around each image in the same text wrap interface. So let's say you just want to nudge the text away just a little bit more on the left side. You just tap the little up-down buttons to adjust it. The tutorial video showed the text floating around a cutout of a car, and it looked really neato, just like I said. Well, I'm still experimenting with how to do text. I've just pasted it in, and I've also used the frame text tool, which seems to be important, but I'm not exactly sure why just yet. I successfully created a style that I call Fig Caption. I couldn't figure out how to modify that style once I'd created it, so I went back to the tutorial videos, and then they showed me the trick. If you're wondering, Update Paragraph Style is a tiny little button under the list of text styles in the studio over on the right-hand side. I mean, it's easy peasy once you know how to do it, but if you're searching in the menus, you're never going to find it. You can draw with the vector tool on a layout, adding gradients and doing some other image type stuff with the tools in the left sidebar. In the beta at the top left, there are icons to activate the vector persona and a photo persona, but neither of those have been activated yet in the version of the beta that I'm using right now. It's version 1.70.58, if anybody's wondering. I'm sure they said it's going to be turned on later. Well, the bottom line is I'm having a complete blast playing with the Affinity Publisher beta, and that's a lot more than I could ever say about using iBooks Author. I said a lot of non-Girl Scout safe words when I try to make a book with iBooks Author, and not once have I sworn at Affinity Publisher beta. It does crash from time to time, and it does have unpredictable behaviors on occasion, but I have been able to recover from those crashes. It comes back and goes, oh, do you want your saved work? Okay, here it is. But the unpredictable behaviors are interesting. For example, I was reading the help files, and I was following the directions to find document setup. It said it was under File in the menu bar, but I looked under File in the menu bar, and it simply wasn't there. Well, I checked into they have a great community forum for Affinity Publisher Beta, and I wrote my question in there saying, hey, it's not there. And I showed a picture of the help file and a picture of my file menu showing clearly the document setup was not in there. And somebody wrote back and said, yeah, it's a known issue. It turns out that the app accidentally loads the Affinity photo menu from time to time. So all you do is quit and go back in and it sorts itself out. Did I mention this is a beta, right? Well, if you're even a little bit curious about how to use a page layout program and are willing to take a risk on a beta product, I highly recommend you go to the link in the show notes and download a copy of the beta for Affinity Publisher. Have I mentioned to you yet that it's a beta? Hey, Steve, I said beta twice at the end there.
Yeah.
It says download a copy of the beta for Affinity Publisher Beta.
Yes.
Let's just get rid of the last beta in there, if you would.
All right.
But make sure you don't break that link.
Yeah.
Yeah, just go inside it without hurting it. Please. Thank you. Live editing. What have I missed? Anything fun? 80 new messages.
Nothing. Yeah, not much.
Oh, man. Oh, you got your grand dog with you? John does. That's nice. What's TJ up to? Bark, woof, yip, bark, woof. Are there dogs on the show today? Rose came in. Hi, Rose. Wait, who's Winnie? Oh, Winnie is TJ. Oh, look at the puppy. That's Winnie. I get you. I see what TJ did. Look at the puppy. All right. Oh, Rick is saying he wants to see the iPad version. Yeah, I'm sure they will, Rick. It usually seems to lag by at least 6 months, though. And this is not out yet, so. All right, we can close that. And we'll go back here. And next up is... Oh, next up, we're going to talk about my fan.
Ooh.
And learn about heat transfer.
I'm your biggest fan.
This is the best fan, though.
Yes.
Oh. Did anybody say chapter markers?
Somebody did, I'm sure.
No. I don't see any chapter markers. Wait, gotta find it. Okay, that needs to be... Bank. Click. Enter. Went fan. Okay, click copy link, paste. Enter. It's not too bad. All right, back to here, which we'll turn that into that, and we should be able to go. All right. This is my new fan.
Wow.
Can you see it? I can't pull it any closer.
Is that your 5-blader or 4-blader?
I don't know. They're spinning really fast.
Oh, it's
5 speed, though. Actually, here you go. Hang on.
Ooh.
You feel cooler already? Is that good,
Man.
Kevin?
It's like we're in a NASA wind tunnel.
Okay, but now listen to this one. It's going to go down. It's going down. I'm going to tell you about this in a second. This is called Silent Night. You can barely hear that. All right. Here we go. Are they enjoying it?
Oh, yeah.
Nobody cares. The puppy's taking all the attention. I get that. All right, muting Steve. People think of California as a really hot place and are always surprised when they come here and realize that the coastal areas really aren't that hot. The weather people here have a standard line they replay almost every day. Early morning low clouds followed by hazy afternoon sunshine. You know, we pretty much stay at around 72 degrees Fahrenheit for months on end. At night, it does get chilly, dipping into the mid-60s. And I know that sounds funny, but people who come from normal climates are always surprised that it doesn't stay warm at night here, even in the summer. Now, while the inland areas do get pretty hot, being near the beach, we have a lovely ocean breeze that keeps us at those moderate temperatures. As a result, homes in our neighborhood simply don't have air conditioning. But over the last few years, I don't know if you've noticed, but it's getting hotter and hotter. We kept thinking, oh, this is unusual. It's not going to get this hot again next year. But now it's been quite a few years in a row that we've had really hot summers, even by the beach. Now, our bedroom and bathroom is the full width of the house, and the west-east breeze, which is lovely around here, has to squeeze through a tiny bathroom window in order to flow through to the bedroom. In other words, there is no breeze at all. So now when it's getting into the mid-90s in the summer here, recording in my bedroom is like recording in a sauna. Finally, 2 years ago, Steve bought a standing Danby air conditioner from Home Depot for just our bedroom. It's glorious for those 90-plus degree days. Sometimes it's just in the low 80s, and I feel like a wimp and I'm wasting energy to turn on the air conditioner. At the same time, anything above 77 degrees, and I will have sweat pouring down the sides of my head from wearing those over-the-ear headphones. I wanted to be cool, but I didn't want to turn on the air conditioner. I'm sure I have a wild guess at my solution, but I'm going to teach you some stuff I learned in engineering school first. Let's talk about the 3 methods of heat transfer. In order of decreasing effectiveness, the 3 methods of heat transfer are conduction, convection, and radiation. I'd like to explain these 3 methods of heat transfer with an example to which all of us can relate. First, take a super hot bath, or maybe spend some time in a jacuzzi above 95 degrees. When you get out of the hot water, assuming there's no wind, you will experience what's called radiation cooling. The air around your body is cooler than your body, and in a slow and very inefficient process, the two will begin to equalize, with the heat leaving your body towards the colder air. Notice how after a hot jacuzzi or bath, it takes a very long time to cool down. That's because radiation cooling is the least efficient method of heat transfer. Now, let's say there's a stiff breeze when you get out of that jacuzzi. The wind moving across your body causes our second method of heat transfer, convection cooling. I'm sure you've noticed that you get cool much faster when there's a breeze than just standing around waiting for it to cool down. You can feel that convection cooling is a more efficient heat transfer method than radiation. Now, the very best heat transfer method is conduction. Imagine you get out of the jacuzzi and you sit down on a cold metal bench. Your little bottom will start to get cold quite quickly. That's conduction. When you actually touch 2 surfaces solidly together, the heat will equalize between them much more efficiently than through the air. Now let's get back to talking about my lovely air conditioner. Air conditioners provide 2 functions. They cool the air, but they also dehumidify the air, which can make you feel a lot more comfortable. Setting aside the humidity factor, an air conditioner cools the air and then blows it around a bit, but it probably doesn't blow it directly on you. So while an air conditioner will eventually lower your temperature, your body has to use radiation cooling to transfer the heat from your body to this newly cooled air. The other problem with air conditioners is that they use a tremendous amount of energy. In order to cool you down, a compressor has to take the heat from the air in the room, transfer it to a liquid refrigerant, and then pump that heat outside. Some units even use radiation, which we just learned is the least efficient heat transfer method, to dissipate the heat outdoors. This inefficiency also results in a lot of noise. Not only does the heat transfer condenser process make a racket, but it's got a fan in it too. And one of my problems is I can't have any noise when I'm recording. Now, let's talk about the simpler solution. A fan. Fans blow air across your skin, cooling you down more quickly with this convection cooling. Sure, it's not as good as sitting on that metal bench for conduction cooling, but it's better than radiation. I suppose the best case scenario would be to turn on the air conditioner, point a fan at yourself, and then wrap yourself in a bunch of ice packs. But let's talk about a more practical solution. As I've mentioned before, my studio is normally in my bedroom, which is quite large, but that lovely ocean breeze outside only has a teeny window in the master bedroom to flow through, which means I get pretty close to zero natural convection cooling. My air conditioner works, but it's far too noisy to have on during podcasting. And when it gets hot, did I mention how hot it gets under over-the-ear headphones? Well, the best solution had to be a fan to get the benefits of convection cooling, but it couldn't be loud, and it had to efficiently blow air across me. I had an industrial-strength fan, but it was super loud. It did cool me down, but it was so loud I couldn't podcast with it on at all. I also got a small Vornado fan, which is really cool. It's a little tiny thing, but it wasn't quite as loud, but it wasn't as powerful either. When desperate, I'd put it under my desk, pointing at my legs so it was blocked from annoying the microphone. But still, that wasn't ideal. Then Steve took it on as a mission to find me the perfect fan, and he succeeded. Enter the Rowenta VU 2660 Turbo Silence Extreme Electronic Table Fan with remote control. The Rowenta comes in 2 sizes. There's a 4-speed for $67 and a 5-speed for $100 from Amazon. Since Steve loves me, or possibly tires of hearing me whine about being too hot, he's spraying the extra money to go the $100 for the 5-speed, mostly because it came with that remote, but I'll get to that in a minute. The 5-speed Rowenta has 2 modes, and that makes all the difference. One is... Nope, it's not 2 modes, and that makes all the difference. There's no period at the end of the still it wasn't ideal sentence, Steve.
Let me make sure.
I'm 3/4 of the way through the article. Right before it says,
Steve
then
took
Steve.
it on a mission?
Right before that, yeah. Still wasn't ideal. There's no period at the end.
Ah, all right.
The 5-speed. Right time to take a breather there anyway. Here we go. The 5-speed Rowenta has 2 modes that make all the difference. One is called Turbo Boost. And with that fan, with the fan, I should say, on my dresser 12 feet away from my desk, it gives me a phenomenal cooling breeze across my entire body. Now, I might not be able to record with it on Turbo Boost, but the cooling is undeniably effective. The other mode that is equally impressive is called Silent Night. I have the fan on right now, right next to me, in Silent Night mode while I'm doing this recording. Now, it's really is truly silent. Now, while I can't sleep when I'm too hot, Steve can't sleep if there's too much noise. With Silent Night, I get a gentle breeze, and it is nearly inaudible, as you can tell. Often, I've walked up to it thinking it's off when I've actually forgotten and left it turned on. It's a fantastic compromise for us to both be able to sleep. Between Silent Night and Turbo Boost, there are 3 normal speeds, giving you a full spectrum of 5 speeds. The Rowenta fan stands around 21 inches high, and the fan portion itself is about 14 inches in diameter. The remote is awesome. As I mentioned earlier, the fan sits on her dresser 12 feet away, but with the remote, I can change the speed and turn the fan on and off. I do find it comical that I walk or run, 9 miles, 18,000 steps a day, but if I have to get up and walk across the room to turn on the fan, that's way too much work for you. For me, I should say. So the remote, I'm actually, let me click it here and you will actually hear it change. Let's go to Turbo Boost for a second. I don't know if you heard that little beep. Now, you probably wouldn't want to listen to me talk with that on because it's pretty noisy, but I'll go back to Silent Night. And it cools right down. So it's really nice to be able to use that remote from across the room. So when I'm editing, I turn it on to Turbo Boost, and when I'm recording, I flip it back to Silent Night, and it's really nice. Now, I know you guys think I'm making too big of a deal about this fan, but it makes me seriously happy. It's quiet at night so I can be cool, and Steve can sleep. And it's powerful enough and quiet enough to keep me cool, even while podcasting. If you've been looking for the perfect fan, check out the Rowenta VU2660 5-speed fan with Turbo Boost and Silent Night, and that remote control. Now, aren't you glad you got to learn all that stuff about heat transfer before I told you about my fan?
That's a lot to... I think we just did the undergraduate class in thermodynamics. John wanted to take it to the next level. He wanted to go into 2-phase heat transfer.
Uh-oh, there's 2-phase? I don't know if I learned that.
The graduate course.
Heat transfer was oddly one of my favorite subjects in school, and it was taught to me by the professor I hated the most in school when he taught us thermodynamics.
Thermal.
Should I tell him that story? I'll take a little break here. So we're sitting in thermodynamics class. Steve and I were in the class, and our friend Drew. And this professor was Egyptian, but he spoke English, but he had some words that were a little troublesome to understand. And at one point, he kept saying, and you could see everybody looking around at each other. The whole class is looking right and left. And like, what the heck is this guy saying? And all of a sudden, we saw somebody go, oh! And then they all started, you saw him lean over and tell somebody, and the answer rippled up and down the class. And what he was saying was the Greek letter eta, A-E-T-A, I think it's spelled.
E-E-T.
E-A-T-A? No.
I think it's just E-T-A, isn't it? Eta?
No, I think it's A-E. Anyway, eta, subthermal. So thermal as a what do you call? Subscript to the letter, Greek letter eta. So it was eta thermal. Eta thermal. That was 40 years ago, and Steve and I still get freaked out when we hear about that class. That was the hardest class either of us ever took.
It was not a good class for me.
70% of the class got C's and D's. 70%. There were 8 A's.
He had a little different grading standards.
I got a C+. I think you pulled off a B, right, Steve?
I think it was a low B.
That was tough. All right. Time for an ad. Muting Steve. Okay. Shh. We have more street noise on this side of the house. Patrons are the foundational way the expenses get paid for the production of the NosillaCast and Chit Chat Across the Pond. Not only that, they're a way of showing me that you get value from what you learn here. Do you earn $1 worth of per week between my reviews, security bits, and chit chat? Are you at least entertained $1 worth? Then consider becoming a patron by going to podfeet.com/Patreon and pledging a weekly dollar amount to show your support for the Podfeet podcasts.
Okay. So what? I'm posting into the chat room. It is ETA.
Is it really?
Ada.
Okay. A friend of mine, actually one of my first bosses, actually named his daughter Ada. And the other one, it was Ada and Brandy for some reason.
It wasn't ADA, it was ETA?
Yeah, it was the Greek letter.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember that one on the right that you just showed. The, where is it? Looks like an N, a long N. I didn't know the capital looked like an H.
Yeah.
Huh.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. I want you to search for Ada subthermal.
Yeah. What was our professor's? We'll have to go back too far.
I can come up with it. Let me think.
Jabashi?
Nope.
Something.
Oh, your idiot best man would remember.
Kabashi.
Yeah, he seemed to think that was something to remember. Let's see. So now. And now for something completely different. Nope, I did that blog post. Okay, here we go. Muting Steve. I hate scanning almost as much as I hate printing, and I really hate printing. I hate dragging out my Fuji ScanSnap scanner. I hate making room on my desk for all the unscanned papers, and I hate making room on my desk for the ones that shoot out of the scanner. I hate fighting with getting the pages into the scanner correctly. I hate the ScanSnap software. I hate that ScanSnap installs so many apps. I hate how they have to be updated all the time. About the only part I like about scanning is having Hazel triage my scans. I watched David Sparks' awesome 2.5-hour Hazel video field guide where I learned how to have Hazel recognize the optical character recognition, or OCR, find the dates on bills and such, rename the files to have the name of the company and the billing date on them, and finally to whisk them off of my disk and onto my Drobo network-attached storage. Setting all that up was super fun. When the rules work properly, it makes scanning about 80% less annoying. But that's still a lot of annoying left over. Luckily, Steve took over the scanning task for me a while back. I have no idea why he volunteered for such a thankless job. It sounds like a running theme here, but maybe got tired of hearing me whine about it. Maybe got tired of the giant stack of unscanned papers I'd leave on top of the filing cabinet because I procrastinate so long, since I hated it that much. In any case, I'm glad he took it over. Now, before I explain why I'm doing so much whining about scanning, I should probably answer the question so many of you are yelling into your devices, and that's, why are you still getting paper bills, you idiot? Well, this is probably an old habits die hard situation, but Steve and my brains are wired to pay bills when paper shows up at the house. A piece of paper on my desk that is screaming, "You owe us money," is much more compelling than an email that I might not want to deal with right away, and I'm in danger of leaving unread. We could also just set up a scheduled time to pay bills, but we're oddly not that structured. Finally, we could set up auto pay, but I think that's a really risky maneuver. I like to see what someone is charging me because I've caught so many companies pulling a fast one over the years that I don't trust anyone. All right, let's get back to the story and the tech that might solve my annoyance problem with scanning. As I mentioned, Steve pays the regular bills and does the scanning into our Drobo for long-term storage. But sometimes I have a single bill that I want to make sure gets filed right away. I've taken photos of bills with my iPhone and then had to wait till the photo moved up to the cloud and then back down to my Mac, and then I export it and then I rename it by hand and then I copy it over to my Drobo and then I delete the original on my Mac. And now it's a photo over there, so it's not got OCR done at all. So that's not exactly a clean process. I realized this week that I have a couple of scanning apps on my iPhone, so maybe I should give them a try. I mentioned last week, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago, that there are two things I have trouble with in doing honest reviews. And I do give you honest reviews. But one of them is if I've met the developers and I liked them, it's harder for me to be super critical. I will still tell you what I don't like, but it'll be in a little gentler way in the way I describe those deficiencies. The second thing is that I don't like to pan an app or a device publicly. There are those amongst you who disagree with that approach. And you guys say I owe it to you to tell the NosillaCastaways to stay away from devices and applications that I think are bad. I gotta say, I was highly influenced in my approach here by the great Tim Verporten of the Mac Review Cast. He believed in the phrase my mother, the pod mom, used to always say, if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. I repeat all of this because I'm actually going to talk first about an app I don't recommend for this task, yet I still know and like the developers. I'll follow that short explanation of the app I don't recommend with an app I'm in love with. I started by taking another look at Prismo from Creaseed for iOS. I met the developers from Creaseed at Macworld years ago, and they were lovely people. But I have to say that Prismo doesn't do a great job at scanning easily for me. When you scan, you have a choice of text, image, or a business card. It also has page detection mode, where if you hold the phone above the document, the app tracks the edges of the document really well, with a blue area showing you what is detected. Then you tap the shutter button and you get a few beeps while it tries to find the perfect time to take the shot. Right up to this point, Prismo works really well. The problem is in the image it captures. It disregards that perfect capture that it showed you in the preview that it was going to take. Sometimes it leaves you with an entire photo of the document, the background on which you had the document, but sometimes it gets close to the correct edges, but not close enough. Now you can drag each of the corners and you see a zoomed up area to make sure you precisely grab those corners. And then you can make that image look great. That's a big waste of my time if it already knew where the edges were. I do like the OCR process though. It shows a turquoise blue scanning line coming down the page, and it's really, really fast at doing the OCR, much faster than Fuji's ScanSnap software for the Mac. And from my testing, the scanning OCR in Prismo is very, very accurate. But with me having to line all four corners, even with images taken on a stark contrast, it's a waste of my time. It also appears that Prismo is not in compliance with the design standards for the iPhone X form factor. It's got gray bars at the top and bottom, which makes me think maybe this app was great in its time, but hasn't kept up with the competition. It was time to check out another tool. And I spelled Prismo wrong one time. Steve, would you mind doing a search for Prismo and changing it to Prizmo?
SMO to ZMO.
Yeah. Thank you kindly. All right. I'm going to mute you again. I feel like I'm not as engaged with the live audience because I have to go way over here to see what you're doing because I don't have my other monitor over here. But it's nice having empty space to put junk. Gotta decide which is the right answer there. All right, here we go. The second app is called Scanner Pro from Readdle, or I always want to call it Readdle. It's Readdle, but we'll go with Readdle. It costs $3.99 for iOS. I've also met the Readdle folks at Macworld, and they're lovely as well. When you point your camera at a document with Scanner Pro, just like with Prismo, you get a blue rectangle showing you the page edges that it has found. If you're farther away than you should be, it will ask you to move closer. When you're close enough and it believes it's found the document correctly, it will automatically take the shot so you don't have to hit the shutter. Unlike with Prismo, Scanner Pro does find the edges correctly and does give you a clean document scan pretty much every time. I should remind you that before you take on this kind of project, make sure you have a good contrasting background for the thing you're trying to scan. After you let it take the shot, you'll see a blue box with a 1 in the bottom right corner of your screen showing you that the camera is ready to take another shot. This is so that it can scan multiple page documents. Take the shot, how many pages you've successfully scanned into the document. When the entire document is scanned, which might be after one page, you tap on the number that I talked about in the bottom right-hand corner and you'll see your scanned document. At the bottom, you can see the default name with the date and time of scanning embedded in the name. If you didn't finish scanning all of the pages, there's still an Add button in the bottom left, and that'll take you back to the scanner tool to add more pages. In the bottom right, you have a button to take you to an editor with just the essentials you need for scanning documents. In my experience, I haven't needed the included crop tool because it does such a good job of cropping to the right dimensions, but the rotate tool is handy when you're forced to turn the camera to landscape for a scan. There's a pop-up menu to change from color document to black and white, and also color or grayscale photos. Come back to photo scanning a bit later. There's a lighting button at the top left that lets you change brightness and contrast. In the upper right, you can toggle on or off an automatic distortion correction tool. In my experience, letting it correct distortions worked beautifully, so I never turn it off. After you've tapped Done and Save in the scan interface, Scanner Pro will automatically do the OCR for you. No cool glowing turquoise scan line going down like Prismo, but you can't have everything. The OCR was accurate and clean, and that's what we really care about. At the top right, there are 3 dots. From there, you can show us text, edit with another Readle product called PDF Expert, or interestingly enough, you can password protect the PDF. Finally, in that menu, you can delete the document. At the bottom middle, there's a share button, and it's got awesome options. Along with the usual email and save to photos options, you can fax a document or open it in another application. You can save to files or save to Dropbox, Google Drive, Evernote, Box, OneDrive, OneNote, and WebDAV. Guess what else you can do? You can add a workflow. Now, this is not a real workflow. I mean, it is a workflow, but it's not a workflow. It's not the official workflow application. But this lets you daisy chain actions like email it and file it in Dropbox. Just for grins and giggles, I created a workflow to scan to a specific folder in Dropbox. Then I made that folder be watched by Hazel, so my rules would run to change the name and file it away on my Drobo and then delete it from Dropbox. Worked like a champ. Oddly enough, with all these great options of how to save and where to save, saving to iCloud is clumsy. iCloud Drive is not listed as one of the regular services. If you go to, in order to save to iCloud Drive, you have to drill down into files every single time. So that was a little bit odd, but a little more on that later. I had high hopes that I could use Scanner Pro to finally scan in all of my analog prints from my photo albums, but that's not going to work. It's not really something a phone could do particularly well by taking a photo because of the reflections on the photos. Now, maybe if you took you printed all your photos as matte, it would work, but I printed everything in glossy, and reflections are a nightmare. I tried shining a light on the photos. I tried doing it under a chair so there was little to no light. I tried tilting the photo at an angle to change the angle of reflection. All photos came out with a reflection of me in the photo, or with bright areas where a light was leaking through and causing more reflections. I'll be doing a post later, possibly. There is a better option for photo scanning using your phone. All right, so I wanted to bring a few of the settings to your attention in Scanner Pro that I think are useful. You can change the format of the default name I mentioned earlier. There's a section to set up all of your cloud services and to make the process of scanning even more streamlined. For example, you can turn on auto upload to one of those services. If you want to make sure that your scans don't use up your data plan, you can flip a switch to use auto upload only on Wi-Fi. You also need to tell it the default file type, whether it's going to be PDF or JPEG. I tested auto upload, and it does require you to save the scan into Scanner Pro before it executes the upload to your cloud service. I'd like to see them have an option to just never save the file into the phone because I don't really want them stacking up in the app, so I have to delete them afterwards anyway. If you do want to keep your scans on the phone, you can create folders and save directly to them after scanning. I said earlier that if properly configured, your scans will automatically be OCR'd, and you turn that on in settings. They have more than a dozen languages to set as your default for OCR. Choosing a different localization causes Scanner Pro to download that language's recognition library. I tested it out and downloaded Japanese. Then I realized I don't know how to read Japanese, so I wouldn't be able to tell if it worked. Maybe Kaylee can check that for me. Well, most of what I scan, I don't ever want to be in the cloud at all. It could be tax documents, medical records, or just stuff I don't want to share. In Scanner Pro, there's a section called Network that allows you to move scanned documents directly to your Mac, or I think it might work with a PC, I don't see why it wouldn't, over a Wi-Fi connection. The first thing you do is there's a toggle to turn on Wi-Fi access. Once you do that, you'll see the IP address of your iOS device. Now you simply type that IP address into a web browser. That's why I think it'll work on the PC too. You'll see a list of the documents that are stored in Scanner Pro. Each of those documents is a separate link, allowing you to select, to view, and then download, or you can right-click on the link and immediately download. It's a bit tedious if you have a lot of documents scanned. Another option to avoid putting the documents in the cloud would be to use AirDrop from within Scanner Pro with the Share menu, assuming AirDrop decides to play nice when you need it. Oddly, the toggles for iCloud and iCloud Drive are under this same network section in Settings, and it took some research to figure out how iCloud works with Scanner Pro. Under the Share sheet, like I said, you won't see iCloud Drive, and you won't find it in Workflow either. You will find your iCloud folders inside Files and Share that I mentioned earlier, but to put your scan in there, you have to drill down every single time, like I said. If you turn on the toggle in Settings for iCloud Drive, your scans will automatically be uploaded to iCloud Drive in a folder called Scanner by Riedel. You can't change this location either. I recommend having Hazel watch this folder for you and take action on those documents, like renaming them and moving them to where you want to go. But we still have this mysterious iCloud toggle. What does it do that the iCloud Drive toggle doesn't do? Turns out they mean iCloud syncing. So if you turn on iCloud, when you scan and hit Save in Scanner Pro, your scans live inside Scanner Pro. But with iCloud I'll get this right yet. With iCloud I'm going to get it yet. With iCloud toggled on, those same scans will show up in Scanner Pro on all of your devices. So they're stored in the phone and synced across the devices, still all in Scanner Pro. So if that's where you want your documents, that's great. But I'm not sure why you'd want your documents to live inside your Scanner app. The Advanced Settings section has a couple of nice tidbits in it. You can turn on a password lock, and after selecting and confirming the password, you can allow it to use your biometrics to unlock the app. It's very cool if you use it to scan in sensitive documents. You can also turn on the ability to start with the camera enabled as soon as you open the app, which would make it faster to get started. There's also a curious toggle called Radar. Radar will scan your photo library for documents real time. I happen to have taken photos of a bunch of wine bottles recently for an inventory project of my red wines, and Scanner Pro seemed to like those, but it was also intrigued by the x-ray of my broken toe. Not sure what it thought it was going to do with that. Radar didn't have great value to me, but I don't know, maybe you could use it for something. I've really come to enjoy Scanner Pro from Riedel, and for $3.99 for iPad and iPhone, I think it's a fantastic purchase. You'll see that there are in-app purchases, but that's only to buy the fax packages. Remember I told you that you could send it to fax? Well, you need to have some way to fax, and you can just buy it from them. If you only need to fax once in a while, it's really easy to give them $1 or $2 instead of having to maintain some kind of goofy fax service these days. The FAQ section inside Settings is very good for the very few things that weren't self-explanatory. For example, I did have to search there for the explanation of the Wi-Fi and network settings, but the help file explained it really well. I don't know if I'm ever going to drag out my ScanSnap again now that I've got Riedel's Scanner Pro in my pocket. Heck, I might not even procrastinate on scanning. All right, who's talking to me? I thought I was in mute. Uh-oh. What's going on? People are bothering me. All of a sudden, I started to get a bunch of notifications.
Really?
I saw a typo. What was it? I hate it when I see typos when I'm reading because they just disappear on me later. It was something with singular instead of plural. That'll be easy to find. Oh, well. Did I miss anything?
We're just talking about growing older and enjoying it. Or in some cases, just being thankful we're this old.
Well, my dad always said it beats the alternative.
Yeah.
All right.
Sure
so let's see, preview. All right, we got one more. One more segment, kids. Did you like the title of this one, Steve?
The next one coming up?
Yeah.
Yes. And I like the last sentence you added.
The next article is called 9 Reasons to Get an Apple Watch. Not 10.
No. Can't have 10.
Okay.
I'm working base 9 here.
Okay. I feel like I'm really out of touch with the chat room.
So you have your iPad set up, but it's too far away to see easily?
Oh, that's what I was going to do. That's right. Oh. I've got the chat over on the right, and that's like I have to look through my microphone. That's right. So I'm going to run with 2 iPads.
Not known for being transparent.
You're so transparent. I could watch Cheers too. What is the app called? Discord. Come on. Does it want to obey my keyboard?
Are you going to keep the classroom a little late tonight?
5:59. I guess so. Well, you're the one who told me to go in here. Okay, so now I'm here.
All right.
Hi. There.
Hi.
I'm on my iPad. There, I interacted. You happy?
Good.
Okay. All right. Well, let's quit screwing around. Let's go.
Let's get on the move.
Mute. I was chatting with my good friend Dorothy, also known as Mac Lurker in the chat room, and she's also Mac Lurker in our podfeed.com/Google Plus room. Anyway, that's really clumsy. That's not right. Like that screenshot?
I think
she
hard is to get. Mac Lurker in the chat room.
She is. That's what I said. Mute. Oh. I was chatting with my good friend Dorothy, also known as Mac Lurker in the chat room in our Google Plus community, about the big Apple announcements, and we got talking about the Apple Watch. Now, she tends to be of the more frugal amongst us, and instead of going for the new shiny, she casts a more critical eye on each device to see if it will actually provide value for her. I know, weird, right? Well, anyway, in the context of the Apple Watch, she's been considering it, and her husband Mark, who is also awesome, suggested she look at devices as having value only if you can get rid of something else if you get it. I thought this was an interesting way of weighing the decision on whether to buy a device. Now, I'm not sure I can make a compelling argument in that context for the Apple Watch, unless, of course, you already wear a watch, you'd be getting rid of that. Dorothy has a beautiful daily watch, an even nicer, classy watch, so getting rid of them isn't exactly a selling point. I felt the same way when I got my Apple Watch, and I now gaze back at a couple of my nicer watches with melancholy as they sit alone in a box. I have to say, they look comically small now compared to my Apple Watch. But this did get me to thinking of a way to describe why the Apple Watch is so amazing for me. I'd like to go through my top 9 favorite things about using an Apple Watch. Before I had an Apple Watch, so should I say top 10 and then change it? Because it still says top 10 at the top. I think I'll say top 10 because that'll be even funnier, won't it?
All right.
I'd like to go for the comedy. Always for the comedy, right? Okay. I'd like to go through my top 10 favorite things about using an Apple Watch. Number 1. Before I had an Apple Watch, I often missed telephone calls that I really wanted to catch, all because my phone was in my purse. I keep the iPhone's mute switch enabled for a couple of reasons. One is because if we're using my phone to play podcasts in the car, and I do any typing on the phone, as the passenger of course, the keyboard clicks and it drives Steve bonkers. Now, I keep talking about how I try to annoy him, but I do try to do... Okay, no, I just messed that all up. Blah, blah, blah. One is because if we're using my... I read ahead. One is because if we're using my phone to play podcasts in the car and I do any typing on the phone, as a passenger of course, the keyboard clicks drive Steve bonkers. While I do things intentionally sometimes to drive him bonkers, like wearing garishly clashing colors, I try not to do that while he's driving. Now, if my purse wasn't over my shoulder, I would never feel the vibration of the phone, so I'd miss calls. Now the call comes up on my Apple Watch. If it's Lindsay or Kyle or Steve or Pat, I can tap to answer the call from my watch while I fumble around in my purse looking for my phone to take the call properly. I never miss calls I want to take. With Apple Watch 4 having speakers that are twice as loud, I might just stay on my Apple Watch for more calls, not switch over to the phone. It's already not that bad on the older models, but this will be a big improvement. Number 2, I don't think it's actually catching calls that I wanted that's extraordinary about Apple Watch. It's the calls I don't want to take that make the Apple Watch so wonderful. Today, we all get so many robocalls, right? But with Apple Watch, I can glance at my wrist and see that it's no one I know, and I can tap the hang up button on the watch immediately. The whole process takes like 2.5 seconds, and that's if I go really slow, and I didn't have to dig my phone out of my purse or pocket, if I had pockets, to find a call that I didn't want to answer. Now, the iPhone oddly does not display a hang-up button when you get a call. I don't know why. You got plenty of room on the watch, but you can't make room for that on the phone? The only way I know how to hang up, which my son Kyle had to teach me, is to hit the power button. I don't know why we don't get that hang-up button until we're on a call with iPhone. So the Apple Watch is actually significantly easier to use to skip a call you don't want to take. All right, next up, numbers 3 and 4. Just like with phone calls, the Apple Watch excels at receiving notifications. I get notifications mostly from Telegram and messages, and it's wonderful. It's wonderful for 2 reasons. The best part about having notifications on your wrist is not so that you can read and respond to every notifications. It's the ones you don't want to respond to immediately that make it have value. Just like the calls you don't want to take, the notifications you don't need to read. Let's say you and I are having a lovely lunch. If I get a notification of a message on my phone, it's going to light up. I'm going to pick it up. I might even hold it in front of my face, completely interrupting our conversation. And that's even if it's one of the notifications I don't want to read. But if I get a notification on my wrist, I can tilt my arm a smidge and with a brief glance see that it's something I can delay till later and look right back at you and stay engaged. For all you know, I just checked the time. Of course, you might think I was getting bored, but anyway, you get my point, right? Well, the second best feature of notifications on your wrist is being able to respond quickly with voice dictation to the ones you do care about. I exercise a couple hours a day, so I'm often walking the neighborhood dragging poor Tesla around, and I get notifications of things to which I do want to respond. Bart and I have carried on extensive conversations while I'm on a walk, all through dictation from my watch. I'm not sure why, but the voice dictation on Apple Watch is better than it is on the iPhone, and it's better on the iPhone than it is on the Mac. Doesn't make any sense, but there you go. Number 5. I never used the Reminders app until I got Apple Watch. I find that I often think of something I want to do while I'm on one of these silly walks. Sometimes it's a reminder to send a note to the SMR podcast guys about how they were wrong on their podcast, but sometimes I realize I forgot to answer someone that's awaiting a response from me or something I got to do when I get home. Just today, I was on the elliptical when I remembered that I forgot to respond to Steve Davidson when he asked for an audio recording or an editing application for iOS for a review he's going to do for us next week. I lifted my wrist. I said, "Hey, yes, lady. Remind me to answer Steve Davidson about recording software for the iPad at 1:15 p.m. today." Now, about 80% of the time, S-Lady actually works for me on my walks, with the 20% loss only being because my morning walk and run is along the beach and cellular service near giant bodies of water is problematic. So when I'm away from there, it's actually really, really good. Like I said, the dictation is surprisingly accurate, but with a reminder, even if it just gets the gist of it, that's enough to trigger my memory at the allotted time. Now, I'm also fond of using geolocation for my reminders. Adding "when I get home" to the end of the reminder will trigger it shortly after my arrival home. By the way, adding "when I get home" to the end of reminders on the Mac doesn't work. Well, maybe it thinks I'm already home. I don't know. Why is Apple Watch talking to iPhone smarter than my powerful Mac? I know I could create these reminders using S-Lady on my iPhone, but it's so much easier to do on the Apple Watch. I don't have to pull my phone out of my spy belt where I'm carrying it while exercising, or pulling it out of my purse when I'm in the car, or, I don't have to clean my hands off if I think of something while I'm making lunch. It's faster and easier and really accurate to use Apple Watch to create reminders. I guess I should mention that you can also choose to get alerts from reminders on Apple Watch, and that's number 6. By default, Apple Watch mirrors the notifications of your iPhone, so in theory, if you have notifications on the phone, you will get them on your wrist. Now, I say in theory because I don't think I get that many alerts on my Apple Watch for reminders. I'm not sure I'm getting all of them. Just on Saturday, calendars. I don't think I'm getting my calendar notifications on my watch because just on Saturday, I completely forgot my recording with Bart for programming by stealth, and I don't remember getting a notification on Apple Watch telling me that I had missed it. However, when he pinged me using Telegram that I was 7 minutes late, he was very polite with a, "I'm ready when you are," not, "Hey, loser, why are you 7 minutes late?" Anyway, when he did that on Telegram, I did get that notification on my wrist. My phone was nowhere near me as we were busy moving out of our bedroom in preparation for the next phase of our bathroom remodel. Now, I've just changed my settings for reminders and calendar in the Apple Watch app to custom, and I've taken all the defaults of custom, so I'm going to watch and see if I start getting my reminders and calendar notifications there. All right, time for number 7. HomeKit isn't the easiest thing to deal with, but when you get things working, it's pretty fun. In a Herculean effort, I created an automation called It's Showtime that tells my LifeX light strip on the mantle to turn on with a blue color, and then it tells me my iDevices switch to turn off, which mutes our landline telephone. And if it's cold, it'll tell my Ecobee thermostat to shut off the central heating. Actually, technically, it tells my Ecobee thermostat to turn it off whether it's hot or cold. But if the heater were going to be running, it would turn it off. When I'm ready for the show, I simply raise my wrist and I say to my watch, "Hey, lady, it's showtime." And my lights come on and the phone is muted and the heater stops making noise. When the show is over, a simple raise of my wrist and I tell her showtime is over and my lights go off and the phone comes back on and I can be warm again. I know I could do it with my iPad or iPhone, but my watch is right there on my wrist. Some devices don't respond terribly quickly, so I do have to resort to my phone, and that really irritates me. My August smart lock has to go through Bluetooth to talk to its dedicated Wi-Fi hub and then over to Wi-Fi to talk to the internet. That double jump does take a while, especially if you throw some S-Lady into the mix. I sometimes have to pull out my phone, find the August app, and tap on the door lock-unlock button, which just uses Bluetooth directly to the lock. Now, most of the time, the automation that says just to unlock when I get close works, but when I do have to do it manually, it's kind of annoying. So I do have to use my phone, and that's much faster than all that S-Lady Bluetooth Wi-Fi chatter. So in that case, the Apple Watch doesn't always solve the problem. All right, number 7. You know I'm a fanatic about working out. I've mentioned it about 12 times in this podcast alone. But one thing I don't find super useful is the Apple Watch notifications of my friends' exercise habits. I'm not saying I don't enjoy them, they're just not useful. I do love seeing how much my friend Pat works out now. I find it entertaining to see Bart finish a workout at 2 a.m. his time. I love seeing Steve finish a workout when it's way after the exercise, and I know he forgot to stop the workout because it's really fun to tease him when he does that. I still wish the Apple Watch had the notifications offered more smack talk in their messaging. I know I could hit the microphone button and dictate something snotty like the message I just sent to Dr. Gary today. "Your longest move streak yet. How long was it? 3 days?" I'm bad, aren't I? Anyway, they have built-in lines, but they don't have real snotty ones. They say things like, "Way to go, and I'm proud of you." I did see one that said yawn, so they're trying at least. Number 8. I have one thing that I have to do every day that has to be done for at least 12 minutes. I put the timer app as a complication on my watch face with it set to open at the custom option with 12 minutes selected. I tap the complication once, hit start, and I'm done. I know I could use S-Lady to do that, but since I have these complications, it's super easy and quick to just go tap, tap, and it works 100% of the time. Now, I know people are annoyed that S-Lady is so limited that you can only keep track of one timer. But for me, I must have that one timer to be there when I need it and to act on my request quickly, and the Apple Watch makes it much easier than using a phone or even a kitchen timer. Number 9. I've saved the best for last. It's a song you've heard me sing many times, and that's the fact that Apple Watch helps me stay fit. A couple of years before I retired, I lost 10 pounds. It was the exact same 10 pounds I'd lost pretty much every year for the last 30 years. I was already exercising every day, but I did something different. I started wearing a Fitbit to count my steps and started dragging people on a mile or 2 long walks around our work campus when they wanted some of my time. At the time, my goal was 10,000 steps, and I started meeting that goal. When Apple Watch came out, though, I learned even more with the calorie and step counting in the workout app. I learned which exercises would help me meet my goals of calorie burn that would match how much I wanted to eat and drink each day. I had counted calories so many times before, and it always worked to take the weight off, but I didn't have the other side of the equation, so the weight didn't stay off. I look down at my wrist in the early afternoon now to find out how far of a walk Tesla will be dragged on that day. If I ran in the morning, I know I can safely only go like a mile and a half to burn to get to my 660 calorie goal. If I did the elliptical at the gym, though, which burns fewer calories, she's going for the full 3-mile walk to the park and back, or maybe to my friend Ron's house where the path has great hills. Like so many of you out there, I've learned that if I inefficiently carry things up and down stairs, I burn more calories. Park farther away, more calories. Getting instantaneous feedback with actionable information right on my wrist has allowed me to keep those 10 pounds off for the last 7 years. All right, bottom line. Apple Watch doesn't make you get rid of anything except your pretty watch, but it does make you need to pull out your phone far less often. It allows you to be less rude when checking messages, and it helps you become more healthy if you choose to act on the information it gives you. Now all we need is it to tell us our cholesterol, our blood sugar, our blood pressure. Oh, and by the way, no, I couldn't think of a 10th reason. Whew.
I thought about telling you this earlier, but I just wanted you to plow through it.
What?
You repeated 7 twice, so there really are 10.
Oh my gosh. Are you serious?
That's the way I'm looking at it.
I saw it. Okay, I gotta put that in. That's hilarious. Oh, I just heard the phone come back on. Hey Siri. It's showtime. Showtime turns itself off. Okay. Okay, so this is funny. You might know that we have a live audience, and you might know that Steve is amongst that live audience. After I just finished doing that recording, Steve said, "Hey, Allison, you said 7 twice, so you actually did come up with 10 reasons to use the Apple Watch." Okay, that's funny right there. I don't care who you are. Made me laugh, so that's all we're really looking for, right? Well, shoot, I was hoping I could vamp until I could find the right opening and just keep recording to get to the end, but I'm not finding it. Where is it? That's pretty funny. Now, I need to change the blog post, don't I?
Well, you could...
Because it says 9 and there's actually...
Well, you could let him go to the end and then realize she just left it.
Let's see. Well... Okay. Oh. Well, in any case, that's going to wind us up for this week. Do not forget to send in your dumb questions, comments, suggestions, your reviews. You can do that by emailing me at allison@podfeet.com. If you want to follow me on Twitter, you can check me out at Podfeet. Remember, everything good starts with podfeet.com. We talked about becoming a Patreon or a patron through Patreon. That's you can get to that by going to podfeet.com/Patreon. If you want to join our Facebook group, podfeet.com/Facebook. Want to join Google Plus? Podfeet.com/Google+. Want to join in the live chat? Podfeet.com/chat. If you want to catch out those Amazon affiliate links, podfeet.com/Amazon. And if you want to join in the fun of the live show, head on over to podfeet.com/live on Sunday nights at 5 p.m. Pacific time. Join the friendly and enthusiastic NosillaCastaways. Thanks for listening and stay subscribed. Boom.
6:17, Podfeet.
I know.
Late.
Well, you got a 52-minute episode on an off week.
Not bad. And no, in other words, no recordings provided to you.
No, that was nobody but me.
And did you push one off?
Was all me. No, I didn't. It was the Apple Watch I thought about doing, but
you got a save in you there?
Maybe we'll see. I might do that. Whoops, that's not what I want to do. Push that up a little bit. So is everybody left, or is anybody still here?
No, we got several folks here.
Good.
Chatting away.
Thanks for listening, and stay subscribed. All right. I think we're a wrap. So I better change this to 10 reasons. That's funny. Such an idiot. Okay. Okay. I think I'm done.
All right.
Do we have any final words for the audience?
I think we should just tell them that we appreciate their attendance in the chat room. Please join us again.
Such a serious man. Savor the sausage, gnomes may get you. How long has he been saying that?
A long time.
Oh yeah, we should all have. Maybe we should. Hey, what? We're all going to be stuck during the day on Friday. We might stop into the Discord as we're sitting around waiting for our devices. Well, but that's a long time to sit around in the chat.
Event. Yeah,
yeah.
So many different times.
Well, when you get yours, go look there, see if anybody's in there. That might be fun. We'll see.
Yeah.
Oh, and Sandy can pick hers up at the store. We didn't get that option. It said, no, there's no picking up at the store.
I hear some stores are doing it, some are not. Kind of depends on location.
Really? All right, we should go. Is Rose still here? She's not here, but I'm going to blow her a kiss goodbye anyway. Goodbye, Rose. All right, goodbye, everybody.
Bye.